Welcome to the morning breakfast show session. Not sure where we're going with this. Just because the world needs a label, I don't. But, and I know you don't.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden, we've decided to record a session. I've asked for permission, of course. I'm integral. So, we didn't come prepared to be, letting the world see this. But here we go, because it's delicious. It's beautiful. And so I just wanted to go back for a moment. The perception of which you held yourself has shattered. And it's not even that you were intentionally wanting to see through rose-colored glasses, but it takes a few times around the sun, if I say it like that. Because we glimpse it almost like it's a carousel ride, hey? The kaleidoscope, here it is again. You and I have talked about that. But you actually feel like you purged and you vomited and you physically released whatever that perception, hold, buckle, band-aid, bandage actually was. So now I really want, this is what the world needs to understand and hear.
Yeah.
Is you're on the other side of the aha, the release, the wisdom gained, lesson learned, however the language needs to be expressed. Each of us are unique that way, but I'd like you to share in your language how that feels now.
Well, I mean, you said it at the beginning. Like, I allowed myself to see me. And I've never have seen myself like that before. I allowed my inner child to cry all those tears she ought to. And like my whole body,
Mm.
it's just like tears were coming from my eyes, but like my whole body was crying.
Nice.
Yeah. And I just pick up that perception piece. Like, I don't need to be so hard on myself.
No.
Like, that was like completely shattered.
Right, and the power of the perception, aka the limiting belief that you fed for years to hold that in place.
Yeah.
So there is part of the skin issue, weight gain, weight loss,
Yeah.
constipation, diarrhea. I could go through the plethora of body functions that are affected
Yeah.
when we repress ourselves and our needs and our wants. And not negating why. We don't need to go through all
Yeah.
the training again. But here's the thing. What a beautiful experience to arrive to. And and to be aware enough of. Sorry, I when there's energy moving fast, I stutter. I do.
Yeah.
Because I did say, which the listeners may not have heard and likely didn't, I was not willing to do anything today. Like I'm sitting here like, I've never actually said that to a client where they're like fresh off of the boat. Let's say, because I'm
Yeah.
bringing you safely back to harbor.
Yeah.
You are. I want you. This is what I actually would want for you. It's to sit within that, be that, journal her. The power that it took her, the echo she had to create inside of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful, honey.
Hmm. Yeah.
But, sorry, not but, however, I learned that nature does not like, it abhors that vacuum. So in this breath, in this new, freshly created space where you allowed her to express the tears that were never allowed or weren't able to flow in the past, what would she like today? What would she like from Kaytee today?
Yeah, just to be. It's just like there's not putting any expectations on ourselves, not being hard on ourselves, not, that just like honestly, it is just to like let go and can we just be?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can we just be
And,
who we truly are?
and it's kind of because what I've been like going through, like with my body, with the last like couple of weeks, it's like again creating something that isn't actually there. And I understand why I had to do that in the past because that was my safety. Is
Yes.
I'm like, we need to create something physically on the outside so everybody else can see it. And it's really realizing that, like, I no longer need to do that. Like, I don't need to keep searching for that there needs to be something wrong with me. Nothing,
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing wrong with me. Like, it's honestly called be latents. Well,
Because, I did say that to the class last night. Like, my last few words were, you're actually just going to feel. So I've been sitting here for like, 75 minutes going through everything. But at the end of
yeah,
the show, you're just really going to feel. And I even referenced the one evening that I had to take like the weekend off of work because it felt like my spine was ripping out of my body.
yeah,
And it's really hard to put into words. I had, a few new ones last night where they've never really heard how I talk about energy and emotion in the body, which is what I'm teaching all weekend long here at the store. But sorry, I need to circle back. When you said I no longer have to keep searching, I no longer have to stop telling myself there's something wrong with me. I love that. Why? Because at one point in our journey, we were actually telling ourselves there was. Why? Because
that's
we were trying to figure out what the hell was going on.
yeah.
It must be me. It has to be me. How can
Oh yeah,
how can people treat me this way? How come my life feels this way? Not, and to be fair, not everyone connects the energy and the emotion parts, right? But I love to instruct it that way because we're human. We need to manage life here as well. But if we can tap into the higher self of energy to help direct and guide, life gets a little bit simpler, a little bit more grace and ease is afforded. Doesn't mean life ain't gonna hand you a fucking lemon. Squeeze the bitch
yeah,
if you have to. I don't care.
yeah,
You know what? Honor the feelings as they arrive.
yeah,
Let them share the information with you. No, I'm not a singer. And then we no longer store them. We no longer
yeah,
create an expectation and say, I'll deal with you later.
mhm,
Okay, right? That was good.
yeah.
And one more thing, and then I'll let you talk or allow you to express your feelings this way. There was never anything wrong with you. There was never anything wrong with you. We are simply operating from a conditioned state of awareness in the moment that we are. And then if you're willing, like you are, Kaytee, to understand why I do the things I do, the what, why, where, when, the plethora of the W's, right? We become so self-aware that we become the lightest version, changing humanity this way. We're light workers. And every once in a while, we got to pause, recollect ourselves. Because that beautiful experience you've just been through for the last 24 hours is truly showing you the compassionate energy
Oh yeah,
that flows through an intellect. I will add that. Why? Because there is two of you that I work with that are triple braided intellects. For those of you who want to know more about that, reach out to me. Um, and you both are such compassionate, compassionate energies. But then you read intellect and it's like, right? And then there's this thought process coming in. Yeah. Which we can talk about another time for sure, because right now this is your day, love bug,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
right? It's like you've birthed a baby in a sense,
Yeah. Yeah.
vomited everything out. What are we putting in there? We're putting that compassionate energy,
Yeah.
right? You're going to become the most childlike version of Kaytee today. Please do. And you know what? Go create with your babies,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't have words, but I feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
It
It's,
was like
yeah,
this new like well, talking about like, birthing a baby, like I feel like the baby, like I'm just like a little bit wobbly, legs feel a
yeah,
little shaky. It's just
yeah,
like, woo, like,
yeah.
okay, let's find our balance here. And yeah, I just think back to like last night and how much I was letting go and I just allowed my body to do what it needed to do. And
Mm.
then, it was well, baby woke up at about the same time she usually does. So I was just kind of like starting to come down from it. And then, you just hear, Mama, Mama. And all she wanted was me.
Oh,
So I had a sleepover with her, like she
perfect.
just wanted me right there. She kept putting my arm like back over her body. And I'm like, I get it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wow. The
Yeah.
power, like the kitchen table analogy.
Mhm.
Hmm. Perfect.
Yeah. So the night before, um, I actually had a dream. And I think this is what led up to like all of this and why I was able to release in the way that I did.
Yeah.
So, because it was about going home. So I'm with my family and I'm like, I gotta go home. I left the macaroni on stove.
Macaroni, comfort food. Yeah.
I know, right? I'm like, oh, like we were going out for lunch, and I'm like, I gotta go home. I left the macaroni on, and I'm like, I'll just walk. You guys get a table, and I'll just walk home. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, I have no idea where I am. Like this isn't, my town here. Like what? Nothing looks the same. So I actually asked for directions, which like I never do.
No.
Nicest people, oh yeah, you just head up on over that hill and you'll find Northport. Just go that way. I'm like, oh, okay. It's so interesting, but a big it wasn't a gravel pit, it was a coffee pit. So a big like pit of like coffee. And I'm like, oh well, I can't go through this coffee pit. So I go around and I find this little like peninsula and like some water. And I'm like, well, I'll just go that way and I'll go up on this hill. I run into lions. I just about fall into their cave and I run into lions. And I'm like
Really?
slowly like tiptoeing backwards, like, oh my
Okay.
gosh. And so I go in the water because I'm like, well, trying to outswim this lion. Well, it jumps in because there was two of them. So one jumps in and it's like we're holding hands. Like the claws are in my hands. And I'm like, I gotta drown this lion. This is the only way I can get away is to drown this lion. So, we're kind of like wrestling in the water, and I'm like, I just have to hold it under the water. And I'm like, okay, now how am I going to get its claws out of my hands? And, eventually I did, and I just watched the lion disappear under the water. And then I woke up.
Mm.
And when I woke up, I'm like, it was connecting with that anxiety piece of like, I no longer need that to be a part of my experience today. I used that in one point in my life to manage, and like I'm no longer I no longer need that anxiety. Thank you for showing me these past couple of weeks what I really, needed to work on and work through. And like that morning, I felt really good. I'm like, wow, this is the best I felt in the last 2 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, it was then nighttime rolled around and I could feel that anxiety, starting to come back in. And, how you open the session um, from your meeting the other night, talking about like what's behind the perception, those thoughts way back there. And they were all kind of like the negativity, the something bad, something's wrong, all of that. And I just had to talk myself through it. And then that's when I had my huge release of like, I no longer need to be using this to manage. Let's dig into those feelings. And like, it's time, just like in my dream, letting go of that lion, it's time to just let go and allow my inner child to feel, allow me to see her.
Beautiful. I'm not ignoring you.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to the other lion?
It just hung out. It was by its
Okay.
cave sleeping.
Ah,
Yeah.
interesting analogy. Now I
Yeah.
want you to reflect on both of those powerful energies. One was asleep and one was clawing you awake.
Mm.
Mm. Also, I didn't pick up that you were really that scared. Is that okay? Is that okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you
Yeah.
actually
No, I knew what to do.
right.
Actually,
You
you
knew
know
what to
what?
do.
For a
Let's go
second,
back. Go
I'm
back.
like, okay, this is a lion. I'm like, how good are they at swimming? And how long can they breathe underwater?
Here's
So it's
the
like,
intellect. Here's the
I know,
intellect.
while I was like connecting with, okay, like, Lincoln's really into like reptiles and all these different things. I'm like, okay, which one can breathe really well underwater? I'm like, I got this. Like, they can't hold their breath for a half an hour or an hour or something silly like that. So I'm like,
Right.
okay, I'm good.
I'm good. I'm good. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Right, because one was asleep, one was awake. Both are you.
Yeah.
I just think this is hilarious. Not hilarious at you, but it's hilarious that I was even last night at class, and there's someone in that class who can verify this with you if you need that, but I know you don't.
So,
That's them. I've worked with Kevin Tedeschi, the dream expert. I said it last night. He studied under Edgar Cayce, right? Like he's honoring and taking his body of work and creating more. And I have that great big dream book. I'm going
yeah.
to take pictures of it and send it to you today based on what you shared about your dream, just to give you a little bit more wider perspective. Because
Hmm.
that's what I was teaching last night. However, one part of you was asleep, one part of you was awake. Go back in your dream. Go ask that lady one more time. Who is that lady? Who is that lady? Gave you beautiful directions. She was so kind. You just go over the hill and that way. Who was that lady? Was it
It was actually it was a group of men and they were in like ESO like suit
Did
clothing.
you not say it was a lady? Did I not?
No,
You didn't say that?
no.
That's interesting.
Hmm.
Now I want to go back. Where did I hear that? Okay, so let's go back there. Oh, that's interesting. Esso?
Hmm.
Yeah, like this is like Grimshaw to you, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah. The corner of Esso. Remember Texaco? It was on the
Hmm.
corner there. Interesting. People are like, what the fuck is Grimshaw? Just
Well,
the
yeah,
same.
that's where I was just like, I'm so confused. I'm like, this isn't where I live now. Like,
Ah,
it
right.
was kind of like, where's my house? So that's why I
Mhm.
had to ask for directions because I'm like, what? Like, just take this street and then go down that one and then, you know, follow it straight and I'll be at my house.
So who's the coffee pit, I wonder?
I don't know.
Yeah. Now I'm like, oh, let's dissect the dream right to death. But I'm gonna let that percolate. Why? because that's my favorite word. And I find it interesting that you went around a coffee pit, and coffee is my favorite thing in the world, other than my grandbabies. So I'm like, was I in her dream and she didn't want to ask me? Right? Like we could take
Yeah.
this anywhere, but I'm wondering, what does the coffee pit mean in the dream book?
I don't know. Because I was even like, huh. Like I was just like, all right, I guess this is a coffee pit I'll go around.
Or, or I could look at it like this. Is this how she avoided calling it anxiety?
Maybe.
It's the friction, ding, 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 between the fighting in me and the tired or the sleeping in me, masculine and feminine. You did say just a few moments ago, balance.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. But I'm still going to take pictures of the book, and
Okay.
because I find it interesting, your hands were held by the claws,
Yeah.
and in a sense, the claws were holding you.
Yeah.
It was actually you saving you in a sense. Like, I love this. This is beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, good work.
Hmm.
So it makes you wonder, like, this would be technically the third recording. Yes.
Yeah.
And look at the polarizing experience
Yeah.
you and I have both had, right?
Hmm.
You know, when I think about what I've created in the last few weeks in my experience based on just showing up just as authentic and as raw as my clients do, because that's the power of healing. Yeah, we can make changes in our life.
Yeah.
So I thank you so much for giving us the pleasure of your experience, because I know that that pleasure, that smile, that aha, the tremble of you moving through this anxiety experience is helping others. So I honor that.
Hmm.
Such a gift to be in your presence. So I want to thank the listeners for being a part of the breakfast show, as well as you, Kaytee.
Thank you.
Absolutely, dear. And we look forward to seeing you all again. Thank you.